This is the Dover Download Podcast. My name is Christopher Parker, and for the past 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with, learning from, and talking to a variety of volunteer, staff, and community members. This podcast explores conversations, activities, and a variety of policies and programs which exist here in Dover to improve the community in one way or another. Starting with the first episode of the podcast, we have had conversations about the Waterfront project here in Dover consistently over the last couple of years. We are actually winding down on that project. This is the second time we'll chat about it here in 2025. Hopefully we'll chat about it once, maybe twice in 2026. And then good news. You won't need to chat about it because you'll be able to experience it. Today, I am sitting with Jamie Stevens, our project manager, to talk about what's occurred over the past couple months and what people can look forward to over the next couple months. Jamie, welcome.
Hello, Chris.
So we met earlier this year, probably May-ish, and you chatted about the activities that had occurred over the preceding 6 months. It seems to me that a lot has gone on, a lot of surface stuff. Previously, we'd been really focused on subsurface work, but a lot of the surface stuff, particularly the park, has come along.
The park has come leaps and bounds. A lot of visual stuff, green grass, tree plantings, shrub plantings, sidewalk installations, site lighting, convenience lighting is installed. A lot of the street trees are now installed. And the biggest vertical pop on the city's part of the project is the erection of the building for the pavilion, the future pavilion site. You'll see the timber framing is standing now. The roof coverings are in the process of being installed, and we look to have that structure weather tight within the next month or so.
So the pavilion, that is certainly a key element of Nebi Park, but I want to go back a little to the park elements that you mentioned. One of the things we've done in the past couple months is you led a tour first of Quiddick and then of our media services team to film it, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes. But that tour really shows the diversity of the walking paths and the environment you're in as you're walking along the tour. Can you speak a little to that?
Sure. There's a number of different elements designed to bring the general public or the user of the park in touch with the water. There's we're calling it the granite bridge deck area. It's a area to sit in some rustic hand-split blocks that exist there on a beautifully laid patio. Another key element would be the overlook area. Viewing from across the river, you can see like a half a circle retaining wall with the centerpiece being an illuminated flagpole. Also, a paver element was installed there, complete with a large granite etched city seal in the center of that. And then as we kind of go down through the park, there's another grand sitting area. We call this area the Great Lawn. It's immediately to the left of the pavilion building. Again, some rustic hand-split granite blocks designed for the park user to kind of gather, have a lunch, coffee, enjoy the green space that's being created. And then down past the pavilion, I'll skip a little bit into what we call the understudy area. This is the entrance to, basically it's an urban walkway designed to connect the resident or user with nature that might not experience woodland setting. So the plantings and the details in that area, complete with a stabilized stone dust path versus the concrete. It's designed to be more of a rustic feel to get the user both close to the waterway and have basically the experience of being kind of like walking through a backwoods path, but yet not being in the backwoods so far.
As you are walking along, you're getting through these transitional pieces. What I find is interesting is that there's points along the way, as you mentioned, whether it's the public art, the swings, the access to the water, but there really is a unified feel if you walk the whole length of it.
Sure. And since you keyed in on it, we do have 3 individual rotating art locations. They have a prefabricated concrete pad. And then we also have another art location above what I spoke of, the Grand Lawn, which was where the 400th sculpture called River Roots will reside. But as you mentioned, there are random sitting areas along the way. There are lots of places to break and enjoy the outdoors and nature, which was the intended purpose of the park.
One of the things that I think you highlight very well in the video is the unique nature of the stormwater management systems and how innovative the technology not only has gotten, but we've embraced.
Sure. A lot of times with surface water, you allow the surface water to migrate into the soils. In this case, because of the constraints of the site and the building, everything that's retained from the surface gets retained into the system instead of allowing to leach into the ground or groundwater area because of the soil specifics on the site. So that leads to a lot of innovation as far as the processes that exist. There's, I think, a half a dozen different processes to retain and treat surface water and runoff from the streets.
The work on Payne Street. In the video, you start about halfway through Payne Street. Is the first part of it just going to look like it looks, or is there a plan for that?
So that segment of the project, it divides there, and that's where the Henry Law Park reconstruction project takes off and kind of blends into the construction that's been done on Payne Street. There'll be some additions to the sidewalks, site lighting, again, to match what's been installed on the waterfront, a little more green space, and then some, again, more stormwater treatment elements that are going to be constructed as part of that reconstruction to help control and abide the MS4 permits that we are regulated by the state of New Hampshire to do.
Now, that's a different project, so you're going to have to coordinate with another project manager. How do you foresee that going?
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Chris. I believe I'm transitioning into the project manager for that project as well, which will hopefully be a benefit knowing the knowledge of what has been installed for the waterfront development and being able to try to provide a seamless transition to that particular project.
So in this case, the right hand will know what the left hand is doing?
I believe that's the best analogy you can use, yes.
So the project will continue on over the next couple months. As I said earlier, we're still looking at a spring 2026 utilization, opening day, ribbon cutting, whatever we're going to call it. Does all work stop over the winter? I mean, we're now almost to Thanksgiving. Do we go hibernate? What's going to happen?
Not at all. Not at all, Chris. There are a lot of segments to the project. You'll see the pavilion building become completed, and then that'll allow Northeast Earth Mechanics to continue to tie up the project around the pavilion building. And then also a substantial undertaking will be the removal and replacement of what we call the bulkhead area, those metal sheets along the shoreline. We're going to continue that granite toe wall element from the area that's stopped and now, which we call the historic portion of the wall, into basically the living shoreline treatment, another element that we installed to help mitigate the long-term erosion issues that have existed with the site. So there's still a lot of work to be done, and no, we don't hibernate. We have a number of things to tie up, and then hopefully the finish work will begin to the roadway. We have some raised crosswalk areas that need to be outfitted. Another large element around the pavilion building is this large paver patio area, which will tie everything together very nicely.
Is that the type of work that needs a certain temperature to be completed, or is that a busy work when you have time, you fill it in?
So the prep work can be done at any point in time. As far as the finished installation work, it'll wait till obviously freezing temperatures reside and we get into that spring weather, early spring, and you'll see those elements start to go into place and kind of tie everything together.
Briefly, to your knowledge, the private development is somewhat keeping pace with us. They're working on the inside, clearly, of the two mixed-use buildings and then the townhouse buildings. Any update you can share for your knowledge? Obviously not representing the development.
My knowledge is that the exterior of the townhomes are complete. They're working on tying up the finish work on the two mixed-use buildings, Building C and Building D, doing some siding elements and some weather-tight applications. But all the while, there's a whole army of people working on the interior. Cathartis also has another segment that's getting ready to launch on another parcel at the waterfront, which will be the future site of what's called Building F. They're getting ready to purchase that piece of property and get started with those groundwork operations, ground improvements, foundation, so forth, so that they can hopefully erect that in the early spring throughout the next season as well.
So as you indicated earlier, there was going to be some shifting, but the work is continuing on, that there's still enough to do. But my sense from your reports and from what I've been following along on the various email strings from the contractors to you is that we're on track, that we are where we probably should be this time. The bulkhead is clearly, that was a unknown that came forward, and the permitting took a little longer than we had hoped, but that process is going smooth at this point too.
It sure is. And, that work is, believe it or not, most of the granite toe wall that was constructed along the shoreline was also done during the winter last season. So Northeast Earth Mechanics is putting together a crew, procuring materials so that as soon as it's go time to get started on that, they can get started on that, get that removed, and get it tied back up so that we can finish and tie up the prep work for what's going to happen on the surface, which is what the resident walking through the parkway will be able to experience.
And I think it's important to note, if you've been on Kachiko Street and you look over, the masonry work, whether on the toe wall or on the granite blocks, the seating wall or some of the others, it's a really impressive level of professionalism, the work they've done. It's really quite nice to see it up in person, but even from afar, it's striking the level of craftsmanship that went into that work.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I mean, you're making a finished product look uniform and complete out of, granite and rock that's not uniform and complete. It's natural, some square, some not, and pieced together, it is truly a craftsmanship thing with a member of NEEM's crew. One gentleman oversaw the construction of that entire wall, and he'll be coming back for the fall and winter to do the same for the completion of what we're going to mitigate there at the bulkhead area.
What is the one thing you're looking forward to seeing either completed or underway?
I look forward to seeing the first people walk on the walkways and experience the things that I've come to experience every day during construction. It's going to be such a great space for the resident to use and experience all the elements that I described earlier, and being in the green space and being in those wood settings. And there's a large pathway that's also to be constructed throughout the winter period that will add that little bit of a loop for people to walk on and experience nature. And obviously one of the nicest things for me is being one of the people that actually set the boot on the ground and helped organize and get it constructed. When I first started my career with the city of Dover, my first assignment was to move out of there when the Public Works building resides there, and it's been that way. And I'm in my 25th year of service now. It's nice to see all the dreams and planning that multiple people had a lot to do with basically come to fruition.
It is impressive. It is, I think, a game-changing project on a lot of levels. I know you and I have had a lot of hand-wringing about some of the crop-ups that have come up. And the one thing that I think is telling is, whether it's you and I, whether it's the engineering staff, whether it's the facilities and ground staff, as we've talked about Nebi Park and the complexity that we'll have on maintaining that park, we've all looked at it and said, let's take a deep breath and solve this problem if there's a problem. That I think everyone recognizes with pride how this is a community benefit to finish this project. And to your point, when the gates are open and there's no more fencing up and everyone is enjoying it and taking for granted all the work that was done, hopefully people will step back and say, I can't believe that 25 years ago I used to bring my junk here for the recycling center, or whatever their historic memory of the space is. I agree with you. It's pretty revolutionary to see what those changes are.
I would agree. I'm very proud of what's happened there. And like you said, this conflicts, and with a project of this magnitude, there's all kinds of things that can happen. It's just finding the positive path to that end result, which is what we're all after. And just keep your eye on the prize, and we're getting it. A lot of work, but we're getting it.
Yep. Starting off, like week 2, we found an underground storage tank that wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So
I've already forgotten about that.
What seemed like such a big deal at the time.
Sure.
We were like, well.
All solvable problems.
Yep, exactly. Well, as I said earlier, I suspect we will have you in maybe April, May, as we're wrapping up and looking towards the grand opening, et cetera, et cetera. Appreciate you coming in today and look forward to seeing your work continue over the winter months.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Dover has a wealth of history in its over 400 years of existence. Coming up, Mike Gillis is going to share some of that history with us.
After the election of James Buchanan as president in November 1856, Dover Democrats were jubilant. They began to plan a large celebration to be held atop Garrison Hill, Dover's highest point, and a popular spot for special events. Wanting to distinguish their celebration from others, local Democrats formed a celebration committee and arranged for the purchase of a cannon, which had been captured from the British in the War of 1812. Since its capture, the cannon had been stored at the Portsmouth Shipyard. The cannon was loaded onto a gondola at the shipyard and ferried to Dover along the Piscataqua and Cocheco rivers. Once on shore in Dover, it was hauled to Garrison Hill by a team of oxen. The cannon would be a centerpiece for the celebration, which would also include a bonfire, speeches, and fireworks. Two local shoemakers, George Clark and John Foss, were assigned the honors of firing the cannon during the salute. Prior to the start of the celebration, Clark and Foss, along with a local youth tasked with tending to the cannon's vent, tested the cannon. It worked perfectly. On November 19, 1856, when the celebration was finally in full swing, revelers assembled for the salute. Clark and Foss loaded a cartridge into the cannon to prepare for the blast when, unexpectedly, the cannon fired prematurely, knocking Foss through the air and down the hill. He was killed instantly. Clark was knocked down with great force and lay unconscious. He was taken to a nearby house and was revived for a short time. He complained of a freezing sensation in his feet and was given warm water and a good prognosis. However, within a matter of hours, he had also died. The tragedy ended the celebration and, according to the Boston Traveler newspaper, quote, caused a general gloom to rest over the place. The cannon would remain at Garrison Hill, but wasn't fired again until 1875, when it was discharged to honor the Battle of Bunker Hill and Dover's July 4th centennial celebration atop the hill. The cannon wouldn't be fired again after that, but did remain on Garrison Hill for decades. But after repeated vandalism to the cannon, including being pelted with rocks for years, the cannon was moved to the Woodman Museum, where it can be seen today on the museum campus, just outside the Dam Garrison House.
Thanks for listening to the Dover Download this week. If you like what you heard, subscribe through your favorite podcast aggregator. And if you have something you want to hear a topic on, let us know. Finally, this is just one of the many ways we share information about the city of Dover. You can subscribe to the Dover Downloads email newsletter every week or other newsletters that we have by going to the City of Dover homepage, www.dover.nh.gov. Have a great week.